Life after closing, practical ownership in your first year, home buying, step 13. By the time you reach this step, you've already done the hard, visible work. You've closed, you've taken possession, and you've lived in the house long enough to realize something important. Owning is different than buying. The buying process is structured. It has steps, deadlines, and guardrails. Ownership does not. Life after closing is where budgets quietly drift, small issues compound, and stress shows up not because something went wrong, but because expectations did not match reality. The goal of this final step is simple: help you avoid the most common first year mistakes that drain money and create unavoidable pressure. In the first year, most homeowners learned the same lesson in different ways. The house payment is only one line item. The real challenge is everything that shows up after: utilities, maintenance, insurance, escrow adjustments, and the temptation to celebrate ownership with purchases that don't fit your new reality. One of the first things I want you to do after closing is revisit your budget. Yes, again. If you work through step 2, you already know why. Home ownership changes your monthly baseline in ways buyers rarely estimate accurately. Utilities may be higher than expected, especially if you move from an apartment or a smaller home. Maintenance is no longer optional. Small problems that could be ignored as a renter become expensive problems if you delay them as an owner. And insurance and escrow can change after closing, sometimes dramatically. If you can get prior year utility usage or billing history, use it. Real numbers beat guesses. The goal isn't to win budgeting. The goal is to stay comfortable and solvent while the house becomes normal. One of the biggest first-year surprises for homeowners, especially in Texas, is escrow shock. Escrow is your lender collecting money for property taxes and homeowners insurance as part of your monthly payment. If taxes rise, if insurance rises, or if the escrow amount comes up short, your payment can change even if your interest rate never does. I fielded a ton of these calls when I worked at USDA, and they still catch people off guard. In Texas, insurance costs have risen dramatically in recent years. More hail, more wind, more claims usually means higher premiums. The right response isn't panic, it's attention. Read your annual escrow analysis when it arrives. Shop insurance periodically so you know whether your premium is reasonable. Shopping does not automatically mean switching, it just means you're staying informed. Taxes are the other half of that equation. Most appraisal districts try to keep neighborhoods valued consistently, but outliers happen. If your valuation seems unusually high compared to similar homes nearby, it's reasonable to ask questions. Any protest is filed directly with the appraisal district and must follow their rules and deadlines, but being informed matters. One thing that does belong firmly in your first year is your homestead exemption. If you're living in the home as your principal residence, filing for the Texas Residence Homestead Exemption is one of the simplest ways to reduce ongoing costs and protect yourself long term. It's handled through your CAD, not your lender. It reduces taxable value for certain taxing units and ties into Texas's limits on how fast appraisal values can increase for tax purposes. If you bought a home and moved in, homestead filed belongs in your first year checklist right next to changing the locks and setting up utilities. It's one of the rare pieces of paperwork that can pay you back every year. Beyond the paperwork, the first year is where habits matter. Fix water leaks immediately. Leaks, sewer problems, pet intrusions, and anything that lets the elements into walls gets worse over time, not better. Cosmetic projects can wait. Many homeowners do it backwards, spending money on finishes while ignoring the boring stuff. The boring stuff is what protects your home. Delay big purchases. Filling a house with furniture bought on credit is one of the fastest ways to turn ownership into stress. Buy slowly. Keep your cushion. Live in the house through all seasons before committing to major upgrades. A home behaves differently in summer heat, winter cold, and heavy rain than it does during a showing. Change your HVAC filters on schedule. Set a recurring reminder and actually do it. It's one of the cheapest ways to prevent expensive failures. When you do need contractors, get multiple quotes. Prices can vary wildly. Higher price does not automatically mean higher quality. Read the scopes of work, ask about warranties, and ask whether permits are required and will be pulled. You don't need to be handy, but you do need to be competent about hiring. Document major work. Keep invoices, warranties, and dates for repairs like roofing, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. This isn't busy work. It protects future insurance claims, refinancing, and resale. One upgrade that's often worth attention is insulation, especially here in West Texas. It isn't glamorous, but it can have an outsized impact on comfort and utility costs. If your inspection mentioned insulation levels, that's worth addressing sooner rather than later. And a quick, important word about solar panels. In this market, solar does not reliably add value to a home, and it often complicates selling. Many buyers assign little or no value to solar systems. When some financing structures create liens, UCC filings, or obligations that must be paid off before a home can be sold or financed. I've seen transactions delayed or derailed entirely because of solar agreements that outlasted the seller's ownership. Solar might reduce your utility bills. That does not mean it increases resale value. It should be treated as a personal energy decision, not an investment. If you're wondering how much equity actually builds in the early years, that's a selling and refinancing question, and it's addressed in my home selling series. For this step, the takeaway is simpler. The first year of ownership is not about optimization, it's about stabilization. If you revisit your budget, pay attention to escrow changes, file your homestead exemption, fix compounding problems early, document major work, and resist debt-fueled celebrations, you're doing it right. The buying process is finite. Ownership is ongoing. The habits you set in the first year tend to stick for better or worse. Life after closing rewards steady behavior, realistic expectations, and patience far more than impulse or urgency. That's the real finish line for this series. And congratulations, you've made it to the end of the home buying series. Yay!